kitchen?
That is an outdoor kitchen.
Hello.
Hi, Chef. Why do they give me a camera and a microphone?
Too funny.
Yeah, because they don't know your name is Etner Mom Ace.
I might leave him on an island and eat his chicken, but
Yes.
that's
That's one thing
survival.
now.
That's survival.
Yes,
But
that's survival.
I'm Arugs. Welcome to my channel.
Can hear.
Image! I am not, why?
Yeah, I see him eat all the time.
He eats like
What am I talking about?
All the time.
Don Darrow.
I'm a hot mess. Okay. This is a test of our friendship.
Don't be scared.
Yeah.
Just let it slide in.
Oh my god. Oh, what? What happened? What happened? What? No. We have an
Is that an outdoor kitchen?
That is an outdoor kitchen.
Hello.
Hi, Chef. Why do they give me a camera and a microphone?
too
Yeah,
funny.
because they don't know your name is Etner Mom Ace.
I might leave him on an island and eat his chicken, but
Yes.
that's
one thing
survival.
now.
That's survival.
Yes,
But
that's survival.
I'm Arugs. Welcome to my channel. I'm Arugs. See, now I'm messing around with stuff. It's fine. Here I am. Wild and crazy night that it is. You see that? Yeah. Yeah, it's so hot. Doing so many wild and crazy things. Y'all, I went to the movies. I went and saw the Barbie movie. It was surprisingly good. It's surprisingly really good. I've heard a lot of good things about it, so I was like, okay, well, we went, and apparently the fancy movie theater, as my girls call it, literally is 5 minutes from my new house, and this cat has been all up my grill. Like, Boo Boo, I need to get her a friend. She's a friend. So it's fine. You know what I got today? So, well, we went back to school shopping. I went back to school shopping with the girls and got their school supplies and got some things they needed, like clothes and stuff from my house, because they have them at the old house, but they just haven't grasped the concept that this is their house now too, and they need to have shit here. I'll flip my camera. Oh, is it bothering you? No, I'm just gonna let it sit here, just to bother you. Honey Boo Boo don't give a shit. Fine. I do that. I don't know. See, watch me screw with my stuff. Da 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 da. I'm gonna let it sit there. Let it bother you. You know what? I don't give a shit. That's fine. There you go. Is that better? Oh, I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here hanging out. we saw the, but we went and saw the Barbie movie. My girls actually wanted to like go live on our way back and like talk about it. And I was like, no spoilers, and she's like, no, we could put disclaimer. This is going to contain spoilers. Get over it or get out. And I was like, oh, okay, well. and then here's the fun part. I don't even know what we said. Oh, so okay, here is a spoiler. So there's a part where Ken is playing guitar and singing the song, and I lost my shit. I just died laughing. And so, okay, so I'm dying laughing. And so on the way back to the car, the girls are like, Mom, why? I don't okay, Mouse. Like, she said, Mom, why are you laughing? Why were you laughing so hard? And I was like, well, babies, let's just say Mommy may or may not have experienced a guy sitting there playing that song, like in that whole scenario. Maybe not on a beach, but Nora looks at me, she goes, oh, how many people did you date? I went, and I sat there for a few seconds in silence, and she whipped around, looked at me. She goes, the simple fact that your answer is not just one or two is disturbing. And I went, hold up. I was like, well, first of all, let's just get the record straight. I was engaged at least twice before Daddy. So I was engaged a total of 3 times. And that's not including all of the guys I've ever dated. And Mom was like, Mom. I was like, let's just say that's why Mommy works in therapy very, very hard so that you feel loved and appreciated and validated and safe and accepted, so that you don't have to go through what I went through and go searching for external love where you shouldn't. Then my daughters proceeded to explain to me that they knew what a sugar daddy was. What the fuck? What kind of ridiculousness is that? I was like, wait, do you know what a sugar daddy is? Well, yeah, Mom. Like, the fuck? They're like, there's a lot of references we don't know, but there's a lot of references we do. I was like, how do you know about what a sugar daddy is? And then they didn't want to fess up to it. I was like, oh, okay. All right, cool. Oh, gracious. Yay, having preteens. But we did get our nails in today. We were very girly today. I did get Barbie pink. Isn't it pretty? Tomorrow's exchange day. Next week is the start of school too. So just getting in the groove of this whole thing. I'm getting used to it. I really am. Oh no, we'll see. It's still all so new. I do have like piles of laundry that I have to do tomorrow. I don't really have a lot to say. You're looking at my Saturday night. I'm wild and crazy. I am in shorts that are made out of sweatpants material. It's the most beautiful thing on the planet. That's what gives me joy right now. I think, though, there's one thing I took away from the Barbie movie that I found inspiring. And what I enjoyed about it, because like just like with Barbie, like, and I think that this was the point, which I'm totally okay with, is you go in expecting one thing and you get something completely different. And it was very inspiring and very inspirational and very female empowered. And I like that. I like that there was several, and not just female empowered. I think there were a lot of moments, especially near the end, where it's very healing. It's a lot of like, oh, I talked about that in therapy the other day, like, you know, that type of thing. So it's good. It's good. I encourage everybody to watch it. I know people will roll their eyes and be like, it's the Barbie movie, but yeah, but it will. There was this whole speech that one of the main characters gives, and I was just sitting here going, I am sitting there thinking to myself, I am so glad that my children are listening to this right now. And I will play that speech over and over and over and over to them. It was very honest, and I liked that. You know, I'm over here thinking, oh, I'm gonna stream. I could game. I could do the million chores that I need to do, but I'm like, well, I mean, the girls go back to their dads tomorrow, so I'll do all my chores tomorrow. Deserve a night to relax, right? Well, but I was ordering my girls back to school stuff off of Amazon. I'm pretty sure the Amazon drivers just like see my address and roll their eyes, because ever since I moved in, because I've been having to like buy the girls back to school stuff and buy stuff. Like I bought a whole bunch of like cleaning supplies, and I bought a whole bunch of this. Like I'm buying like a bunch of stuff on Amazon because, you know, you find them good deals on Amazon. Mouse. Oh my God. But I was buying my girls back to school stuff. I did have to splurge on myself just a little. And I know I need another tumbler. Like I need a freaking another hole in my head. But this one is strawberry milk cows. It has little cows all over it. And they're this big, and they're like the kawaii cows. And they're just so cute. They're little strawberries, and it's pink. And I was like, yes. And today, y'all, I bought the nerdiest coffee mug. Nerdy's all fuck. Yes, I did. Buying my girls back to school stuff. And I went and I was like, I need to buy the girls. We were in Walmart, and I was like, I need to buy the girls plastic cups. Because for some reason, they don't like drinking out of the glass cups. I'm like, okay. So I was like, I'll get them like the small, like 50-cent cups. It's fine. So we were walking down the housewares aisle, and I stopped at the coffee mugs because, you know, me, coffee addict. And I totally bought a blue coffee mug, and it's like the perfect size too. It's not one of those like little ones, like those little like 12-ounce ones, and not one of those huge, like, you know, comical ones. It's like the perfect size. It's blue, and it has a picture of Spock on it. Spock doing this, and then on the other side it goes, live long and prosper. And I'm like, yes, all the things. I have a Spock coffee mug. Worth every penny. I was so excited. Do you see it? Look at me. So much joy. So much joy over this fucking coffee mug. You're such a nerd. I am. I am weird, and I'm dark, and I'm crazy. Learning to embrace that part of myself. And not just embrace it, but like accept it. There's a difference between just going, yeah, I'm nerdy and weird and blah, 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 blah. But then there's another part that's like, yeah, this is me. This is who I am. I've got to sneeze. Ooh, I hope I don't sneeze in your. Oh, I was trying not to sneeze in the mic, but I didn't hit the mute button in time. As I was sneezing, it. Sorry, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Pardon me. I don't. We used to do this thing. Well, thank God I'm the only one that uses this mic. That would be gross. Back in my old job, where like you sneeze and instead of saying bless you, to keep things non-denominational, you'd like say things like ew or gross, like when somebody sneezes. So. And my kids go back to school on Wednesday. It's another school year. I can't believe I'm here. Like, I just think about, like, Jesus. A lot has happened. I am a totally different person than this time last year. I'm sitting here as I am starting to heal. I don't know, like as I'm healing, I guess is the present tense. Starting, because I've already been healing, but as I continue to heal, I'm getting to this place where I am finally starting to feel settled. You know, that whole place I was telling my therapist I wanted to be. I wanted to be at peace in my head and feel safe inside myself. Now I'm there. And I'm almost afraid. You know, it's like when you find somebody really, really good in your life and like they're wonderful and they make you feel happy and whatever. And then you feel, oh shit, what's going to happen? Like you feel like you don't deserve it, or like something has to go wrong. And then it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy or self-sabotage where you're like, something has to go wrong. And so then you hyper focus on all the like little bad things that happen, or that, you know, that whatever. So as to fulfill the prophecy that you put forth in your head, which is your trauma. Oh, speaking of, here is something that hit me, and I actually saved it, and I was wanting to talk about this. Okay. Hold up. Hold please, and I will connect you. Okay. So I saw this on Insta or somewhere, Facebook, one of the social medias, right? I dated somebody who made my nervous system the calmest it had ever been. So I thought this meant that it was really healthy. Turns out I felt this way because we hadn't experienced any real emotional intimacy. So I never felt the anxiety or fear of being vulnerable. So it was a false sense of calm. I was not ready. What did I miss about being a nerd? I bought a Spock mug, a Spock coffee mug, and it's blue, and it has Spock doing this, and it says "Live long and prosper," and it made me really, really happy. Yeesh, that's interesting. Yes, and so okay, here, let me expand on this, and here's why it's sort of, yes, I know, I've been so obsessed with Star Trek right now, like the whole thing. It's like, yeah, these new offshoots, these new shows are amazing. But I always thought, and just like this person said, it's one of those, like, if you feel calm and at peace with somebody, you feel safe. And there is a level to that is true. You feel safe with them. You go up to a point where you feel safe, which is great, which you should always feel safe. It's not that you should always feel that way, or that you shouldn't feel safe, because you should feel a sense of calm and warmth and safety with that person. However, anyone who has ever experienced true emotional and mental vulnerability and intimacy, y'all, that is really probably the scariest, most nerve-wracking, most probably what's the best word? It is probably the scariest, most leveling, emotionally leveling that you can be. Because when you feel safe, right? So you feel safe, and you feel comfortable, and you feel warm, and you let your guard down. Okay, you let that person behind your walls, or you bring you put your guard down and you expose your vulnerability, be it like a shortcoming or a weakness or just being emotionally vulnerable, whatever that looks like for you. But it really is. It 100% is. Because it's like exposing a nerve. And anybody who has ever experienced an exposed nerve and how painful and how absolutely like you feel it through your whole body. And it's raw. And it's so intense. Because when you let that person see, whoever that is, and it doesn't have to be romantic. I'm not talking about romantic. I mean, this post was obviously about romance. But I mean, when you cross over that threshold with someone, you feel safe, you feel connected, you feel like you can trust this person. And then what happens is that you let your guard down, or you let them behind your wall, or you open the door and you let them see the person behind the curtain, and fear sets in. Fear sets in because, and I'm telling you this because I know from absolute personal life experience, like fear sets in. And you are wrecked. Because if you are not in a place where you have dealt with your inner child, where you've dealt with your trauma, where you've dealt with your things, here's the thought that goes through your head, for most people's heads. I just showed them my shit. There is no way they can love me. I was just vulnerable with them. And depending on your trauma, I mean, you could go several ways. I've seen this happen, and I've had it happen to me so many times, like different ways of how this is happening. You have this vulnerable moment with somebody, and they either shut down, shut you out, or avoid you and completely cut you out, because it is not, and it's all of those reactions. And I've done the same thing. And I've actually panicked. I've lived in it, but I've lived in the anxiety and the panic. And then I get clingy. Because then I'm like, oh, I let this person in. But then I was like, that's also another reason why I have had working on being vulnerable, is because I've had my vulnerability and everything used against me as a weapon, as a weakness. So there's also that, but all of that, when you are truly vulnerable with someone, when you feel safe enough to let down that wall, or even just let them peek over the wall, or even just let them see behind the curtain, all of a sudden you feel fucking terrified. It's fear. You feel fear. And it's not, and regardless of whatever your trauma is, regardless of even if you're healed, regardless of that, the vulnerability and how you react to that vulnerability, being vulnerable in that moment, is terror. Because then this person, you exposed yourself in a very real way. And that's why a lot of people, they either ghost people or they run away or they retaliate. They hurt them before they can be hurt. They self-sabotage because it's all out of fear. I let this person see me in a vulnerable state, and there is no way. My mouse has things to say. I was like, there's no way that they can love me. There's no way, like, there's no coming back. There is no coming back from this. I know that that's what I thought. They have seen the crazy. They have seen the mess. They've seen the mess. There is no coming back from that. There's no way they can love me after that. And then I spend a lot of my time trying to prove that I'm lovable. And then I just fucked up everything because it's a vicious cycle. But that post really just like hit me because it's so true. Like you're always constantly looking for that peace and that comfort. And once you get there, you're like, oh, this is so nice. And then the moment you feel safe enough, you let your guard down, especially when it's a healthy relationship. Because if you're never vulnerable with somebody, you never truly let them in. And so they don't ever truly get to know you. You don't give them the opportunity to love you. I know that that's the case with me. I mean, how many times have people said on here, Arugs, let us love you? But, we equate this calm and peace. The absence of conflict does not mean an absence of a problem. Like, it's the same motherfucking concept. It's the same concept, honestly. Like, so many people like, they never fight. Okay, well, you're right. They never fight. Hey, yeah. But they never fight. They also never grow. If you don't have conflict, now, is there fighting all the time? Yes. Is there toxic conflict? Yes. Actually, I worked on this in a therapy session, but yesterday, of healthy conflict and how having that difference between healthy conflict and toxic conflict. And trust me, I am very well versed in toxic conflict. I am working on the healthy conflict, but back to my original point. If you're never fighting, if you never have conflict, if you never disagree, then somebody's not being honest. One or both of you are not being honest. Because there is absolutely no way, none, that you can agree on anything without trauma. Unless you're brainwashed or you're in a cult. Either way. But somebody's not being honest. If you are never fighting, then somebody is not being honest. And then on top of that, if you're not fighting, I hate fighting because it's not necessarily fighting, but if there's not conflict of some sort, then you don't learn how to grow together in that communication. You don't learn how to move forward. You don't learn. It's the same as making mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, you don't learn you don't learn. The learning is in the mistakes. The learning is in the failures. I mean, The learning is in not doing it right. Like, messing up and trying again. It's you learn a lot about the other person and the other person's trauma and the other person's mental and emotional state, how they fight, how they view conflict, how they love, all in conflict. And the same, so if you're never fighting, if you're never experiencing conflict, it doesn't mean there's not a problem. It just means somebody's not being honest. Somebody is not fessing up. Somebody is keeping to themselves. The absence of conflict does not mean there is not a problem. And the same goes for vulnerability and intimacy. Okay, but conflict though. Conflict. Nobody likes conflict. Nobody likes being disagreed with. But vulnerability and intimacy. Scary. It's intense. It's raw. It's unsettling. Because intimacy, vulnerability and intimacy. Vulnerability leads to intimacy. Vulnerability leads to intimacy. Just like conflict and the resolution from that conflict leads to growth. And we spend a lot of time avoiding, and I say we, I have spent a lot of time in my life. And I think that the whole reason that this thing, what about if there's no conflict? What do you mean if there's no conflict? That you never fight? You agree on everything. No one ever has a bad day. Ever. Bad moment in their life. No one ever takes out a bad day on somebody else. You're completely and 100%. Even the happiest and healthiest couples have conflict and problems and disagreements. It's just not, again, if there is never conflict, then who, I mean, what about what? There's no conflict. Somebody isn't talking about stuff. Yes. Oh, no. And I say this, Nerdy Will, because even though I am very outspoken, there was a lot of times where I disagreed intensely and didn't say anything and just shut down because I just wanted to avoid the fight. I didn't want to, it's just fine. I would agree when I didn't agree just so that there was no conflict. If there is no conflict, somebody is not being honest. And I wish I could take credit for that. I really do. I actually, I think I read that somewhere in one of my workbooks, bottling everything up. Yes. Because you don't want to fight. You don't want to fight. And what I realized is, and my therapist and I talk about that all the time. You have to choose your hard. What's your hard? I can choose the stuff that goes along with going along. which means I don't agree, which means I'm not being honest. I am not being honest with myself. I'm also not being honest with the person that I'm having the conflict with. I'm also then having to deal with the emotions of not feeling heard and validated. And then I'm having to deal with the resentment and the bitterness and the anger and all the feelings that go along with me not saying what I need to say or wanting to say, or the fact that I disagree and I didn't allow myself to be heard. Or I could choose that hard. That is certainly an option. It's an option I chose. There's an option I chose all the time. Or I can choose that hard. I could use that hard. Or I can choose to be honest and deal with the conflict. I can deal with it, but at least I'm being honest. I felt heard. I can be frustrated and angry and all of those things, but it's going to be difficult in coming to a resolution. But at least that time I'm being honest and authentic with my thoughts and my feelings. And even if the results are the same, even at the end, I end up not getting my way or not getting what I agree on, at least I felt heard. And at least I'm being honest with my partner or friend or whoever it is I'm having that conflict with, and they know where I'm coming from. And the intimacy and closeness comes out of that vulnerability, just like the strength of your relationship comes out of the conflict. And we spend a lot of time, especially those of us who are traumatized, those of us who have mental illnesses, those of us, especially mental illnesses that have stigma to it, those who've grown up in there's a lot of factors that go into it. I have spent a lot of my life avoiding conflict because of my childhood and the things that I grew up with. And on top of that, I avoided vulnerability, because vulnerability always meant me being hurt. I equated, like Pavlov's dog, when the bell rings, So when I got to a moment of intimacy or vulnerability, actually intimacy and vulnerability are two different things. When I got to a moment of vulnerability and I was vulnerable with someone, instant fear, like I even just thinking about it right now, it's like my chest is tight, like my inner child is going, no, we're not doing it, because it was used as a way to hurt me. It was used as whenever I was vulnerable. And I've talked about this, especially in the very, very, very beginning of all of my journey in streaming, my mental health journey and all of this. I talked about how I had this fear of intimacy and I had this fear of vulnerability. And it comes from this fear of being perceived a certain way. And now I understand that as I'm working on that, and again, that is why I started streaming, and I started streaming my car talks, which now that I'm not doing my 35-minute drives, that's going to have to be something different. But, and like, yeah, I had this fear, which is why I started streaming. Which is why when I started this whole healing journey, once I had my breakdown and I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't maintain how I've been doing. I can't hide I can't do this anymore. But that requires me to be honest with myself. That means honest with the people in my life. And it has to be like, I guess I don't have to put my shit out there on the internet. But like I said before, it's practice. I can be vulnerable with you guys and it not be me looking somebody in the face. Like, I can just talk into the void. Even though I know, like, my community is there. So yeah, you can have a relationship with anyone that feels safe and very calm and very beige. Beige is a great color. It really is. And there's nothing wrong with that level of relationship. And I want everybody to hear me when I say that. There is nothing wrong with that level of a relationship. But there comes a point that you have to learn to have that level of relationship if you want more out of your relationships with people. You can keep everyone at an arm's distance, but I don't know. But if you're keeping everybody at an arm's length, if you're keeping everybody at a difference, if you're hiding behind that wall, if you're not letting it, if you run away at the first moment of any type of connection, and we call those committophobes, that any type of where it's more than just that, it's you have to stop and think to yourself, am I keeping people at a distance emotionally, mentally, even physically? Am I keeping them at a distance? And I'm saying this because I've done it. Because I haven't met anybody special enough to let them in. Or am I keeping them at a distance because I don't feel lovable enough to be vulnerable with people? I don't feel safe enough. I don't allow myself to be vulnerable because I don't want them to run. I'll let y'all sit on that for a second because I had to sit on that one. Because the lie I told myself. It's the lie I told myself. I haven't met anybody good enough or whatever. I'm keeping it at a distance. I'm keeping them. Nobody is gonna. It takes a special person. What did I used to say? Oh my God. Oh, this should have been my clue. This should have been my clue. I used to say this. I even said it to Arugs when we first started dating. I have said this most of my dating life, okay? I'm really easy to fall in love with, but I'm incredibly hard to date. I don't know how much trauma in one sentence. I don't know how much. That is like the clown car sentence of trauma right there. It's like the clown car. Like if you start unpacking that, it just keeps going. And it's such a small sentence too. It's impressive how much trauma is in that. Right? That's some trauma right there. It's like hard motherfucking trauma. I kept him at a distance. I still don't like being vulnerable. Big trauma. Itty bitty living space. Because, and I said that because I knew I was the type of person. I was good looking. I knew I was charismatic. I knew all the things. I knew because of my trauma, I knew how to charm people. I knew how to be exactly what anybody needed me to be when they needed me to be it because of my motherfucking trauma and my abuse and that was my trauma superpower. But the problem is that they fell in love with this person. And again, BPD at his finest, borderline personality. Whoop! All right. So, because in case you didn't know, BPD, those are borderline. They have a tendency to mimic their person's likes, wants, and interests, so that because they fear, hey, being alone. So they mimic the things they end up, and it's not even a conscious effort. It's really not. It is literally second nature. Like they go, this person likes, let's use, for example, anime. I mean, just something that's completely random. And and as my audience knows and my community knows, I don't like anime. But I then all of a sudden become obsessed with all of the things anime. I become the e-girl. I do the ooh-woos. I do all the things. And all of a sudden I'm just to get this person to like me and fall in love with me or develop feelings for me. And then once they develop feelings for me and then I start letting my guard down, I start evening out and I start revealing more of my authentic self to this person. And that's where the conflict comes in, because their idea of me is very different than the reality. And I think that that's where I also came in with an issue with vulnerability, because then once I started being vulnerable with this person, they're like, who the fuck is this? I don't know who this is. Like, who is this? And it created a lot of issues. I mimic that stuff to avoid conflict. Yeah, it's a little different. When you avoid stuff when you mimic stuff to avoid conflict, that's one thing. When you literally take on that other person's likes, wants, desires, and personality, it's something completely different. I'm looking back on my life and I'm like thinking of all the times I morphed for a guy, just get them to like me. I didn't like that shit. What the fuck was I doing? What the fuck? But that's the beauty in I was surviving. Yeah. Nah, I don't. Not that case. Pep. That was definitely a mental illness thing. That was definitely something. That was not me surviving. That's a different thing. In a healthy relationship, they do. And they do. And they absolutely do. And they don't walk away from the conflict. And they don't let you walk away from the conflict. And also, when you're truly vulnerable with somebody, it's going to be uncomfortable. Jesus, cat. Mom. Excuse me, Mom. No. My God. Fine. when you're vulnerable with somebody, when you get to that point, kitty tags. Yes. They acknowledge how difficult it is for you. And then they stay. And then they remind you that you're safe. And then they have empathy and patience for you because they realize that, especially for those of us who struggle with vulnerability, and especially our trauma, especially when our trauma revolves around our vulnerability, they're patient. When you start doing the things that you do to try to overcompensate, and because we all do them, we all have it. Anybody with any type of anytime, the moment you're vulnerable, you do the overcompensation thing. I say you, I'm really talking about myself. So let's be honest that I do the overcompensation thing. The text too much, the talk too much, the be too pleasant, whatever. And they look at you and they go, you don't have to do the thing. You're safe. It's okay. I love you. What do you need? And they acknowledge that it was hard for you, and they acknowledge and they give you the space to work through it, but they don't let you work through it alone. And just like with that, in conflict, when you have a disagreement with a partner, a friend, or whatever, when you have a disagreement, it can go one of two ways. Like, you can not talk about it, or you can find a resolution, or you can just keep bringing it up. I guess one of three ways. And you get to that point, like, okay, so we had a disagreement. Let's get to a resolution. And, the resolution may not be instantaneous. It might not be like, oh, we fought for 3 hours and now we're better. Like, it might take a couple days to get to a resolution. After you have totally wrecked your parasympathetic nervous system, and you've totally, like, you're in your fight or flight and your trauma responses in that argument. And then finally, when your nervous systems have regulated themselves in your brain and thought patterns, then you can come to that resolution and you just go, I'm not going anywhere. I still love you. I'm not going anywhere. And that's where the safety bird brain woman. Okay, cool. And that's where that's where the growth is. And why is it? Okay. We are wanting to all feel safe and protected and loved and secure. But we avoid the things that we need to do to get there. Hey, Pep, can you take care of this for me, please? Thanks. But we avoid fighting. We avoid that vulnerability. We avoid the honesty because we want to avoid, because nobody wants to feel uncomfortable, and nobody wants to risk, thank you. Nobody wants to risk feeling uncomfortable. But it's called growing pains for a reason, right? You gotta feel uncomfortable to grow. Gotta feel uncomfortable. Even our own motherfucking biologically, our in nature itself. What happens when we get a cut? Okay, yeah, it hurts. At first, sometimes it doesn't hurt right away. Okay, and then, all right, it starts to heal. Okay, like it's uncomfortable because you can't move it the same way and whatever, but then it starts to heal. And then it's like sore. And then it's itchy. Because when you're healing, it gets itchy, you know, like, oh, that's the worst when like want to scratch. You're like, don't scratch. That's why so many people pick at their scabs because it's itchy. Like, no, you can't do that. You just gotta, it's just, your body's healing. And sometimes when you heal, you're gonna be uncomfortable. When you get stronger, you're gonna be motherfucking sore. It's nature. And that's the nature of relationships. You know what? I would rather be uncomfortable in my vulnerability and I would rather work through my fear of being vulnerable with somebody than live with the loneliness of never being emotionally intimate. I'm picking my hard. I'm picking my hard. I would rather deal with my own trauma and emotional and mental issues when I open up and am vulnerable with somebody and have to work through that than to never feel close to anyone. That's the hard I choose. I would rather. It's like a mental health would you rather. I would rather stay up for hours having a disagreement, but finally understand, getting to a point where I'm being honest and I am standing up for myself and I am setting boundaries and I am not just going with the flow. Than to live with the anger and the bitterness. That comes along with not ever saying anything and feeling unheard, unseen. And even though those are the great, wonderful things that those are great things. Those are things that I am choosing for myself. I have still got a motherfucking long way to go in that aspect. I don't know how to be vulnerable without being traumatized. I wanted to say crazy, but that's not correct. It's like, I want to be vulnerable without without going instantaneously into trauma response mode. I mean, I'd love that, but I got a long way to go for that. And I would love to have conflict that is healthy and, great, conflict that is I would love to have constructive conflict all the time. I am working on that. They call me the Filipino Thunder. I'm very loud. And on top of that, Filipino and I'm half Filipino. We have short fuse. If you've ever met a Filipino, we're loud. We're loud. If you've ever met a full-blooded one, like we talk very, very loudly. I don't know what it is. We're very exuberant and loud. Loud as fuck. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's an island and it's like, monsoon season. You got to yell over the winds. I don't know. So, I don't have to let everyone in. I don't have to be vulnerable with everyone. And there are certain levels of vulnerability. Like, I don't let my stream see me completely raw and exposed emotionally. I let you see parts of it, yes, but you don't. It's not y'all's place to see some of the dark corners and recesses of my mind, and that's okay. And there are people obviously in your life that are closer to you than others, that you feel safer with than others, but you don't have to let everyone in, but you don't have to keep everyone out. And that is the catch-22 of it all. This whole vicious cycle. We fear being intimate with somebody or and vulnerable with somebody because we're afraid that they're not going to love us or they're going to hurt us, or just we're dealing with that fear in general. So in that turn, we keep people at a distance, we push them away, or we just cut them out of their lives, or whatever it is after that vulnerable moment, or we just preemptively just keep everyone at arm's length. And then, but because the whole reason that we are keeping them at an arm's length is because somewhere in our past, we were vulnerable and we and was severely hurt. So then we don't want to be hurt like that again. So we keep people at a distance, but we need that love and comfort. It's this vicious cycle. But I don't need everyone to love me anymore. That's really nice. That's where I'm at in my head. That's really nice. I don't want everybody to love me anymore. Really? I'm getting a lot of this shit today. Dodgehype.com. It's always when they can't put the .com in there and they have to type it out. Get out of my chat bot. I think that's a nice where I'm at right now in my journey. I'm working very hard to try to remind myself that avoid the whole pink sunglasses, like, oh look, I'm healing. No, I know my BPD will be there and will come out in full force if I am not aware and diligent with my skills and my work. It's not something that goes away. But also in that, through therapy 3 nights a week, oh my God, did you click? That's amazing. I never click on that crap because of that. You know what, though? You know what? Kudos to you for being brave and clicking on that. You know what? That's fine. Hey, hairy butts need love too. Nerdy Will. I love you guys. I no longer give a flying fuck. I don't want everyone to love me. That's too much hassle, too much drama. Hell, I don't even care if everybody likes me. I can keep to myself. Do my thing. You want to come along for the ride? Great. You don't. You don't. I'm hella fun. But I posted this video I did on TikTok and I posted on my social media. Like, we don't chase people that don't want to be with us. I think that's a thing. As I was chasing people who didn't like me for me or didn't want, I couldn't take the hint or I don't know what it was. I think because of my trauma. No, everyone has to like me. No, not everyone has to like me. I'm not going to be mean. I don't care, but just say that though. Just say that. Just say that. Just, I think that's where I'm at right now. It's not even that I want people to be vulnerable with me or I want to be vulnerable with people or that I want that level of intimacy. I think it's just I want that level of honesty. I want that level of honesty. I'll get to the vulnerability, deep, intimate, emotional connection. I'll get to that shit later. Like I'm still in the middle of my healing journey, so I'm not there yet. I am at the place where I understand that I know that there's a lot that I can't do yet, and there's a lot of things I don't know yet, and that is fine. And I am learning, and I have just got to practice. But at this point where I'm at, I am healed enough that just give me that level of honesty. I don't need you to appease me. I don't need you to think, oh, she's going to go off the deep end. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to lament and just give me that level of honesty. You're not hurting me. I mean, you may hurt me, but I mean, that's fine. But don't tell me one thing and then do another. Like, fuck that shit. I don't have time for that game. I ain't playing that game. And it's not black or white. I'm not saying that it's like either shit or get off the pot because that's again, people. Whoop. I knocked out my thing. But people are nuanced. And so, ow! Oh. Cat bit my knee. Like hard. It took everything in my power not to like throw, like that hurt. I think I'm bleeding. What the fuck? What is your issue? Just give me the eye. Oh, sure. I agree. I just don't swing that way. That's right. I was sitting here. I was in there. I moved my knee. She did. What the hell? She's over there just grooming herself like nothing happened. Hooker. In DBT, and I've talked about this before, our valued goals. What goals do we want to work towards? And, you know, interpersonal relationships. And what do we do to do that? And I think I am in that point with working towards my value goals, that honesty is important to me right now. That is what I'm working on. And a lot of times I was making these decisions when I first made that goal. It was to try to heal the trauma and the people pleasing and to address that and making choices and boundaries so that, but now I am okay. So I've done that and I'm not going to say I mastered that, but I have done that. I have practiced that skill. I am aware and understanding that first step. So now it's time for me to move on to another choice, another step, another thing that I need to work on. And now it's honesty. Knee is a different target to bite. I mean, it depends on where they're at. That's a different podcast. Knees are a thing. But I think for me, working on my working towards my goal of having better interpersonal relationships, and is right now the skill I'm working on is honesty, accepting and hearing that honesty, whether it is something that is uncomfortable or not, and also expressing and stating my truth and my honesty, even though it feels uncomfortable, and it being honest invokes different feelings and emotions such as fear, or it triggers me, but being honest. And yes, you don't have to be on it. And again, DBT, they teach you ways to be honest without being aggressive, without being, they teach you how to be honest with tact, the skill of how to be honest, and, even your tone of voice, even your facial expressions. Like, DBT is a skills-based therapy, and it's amazing. So, wording is hard. It's fine. Oh my God, I've been on for over an hour. Oh shit. It's almost 1:00. Nothing good happens after 2. I need to log off soon. It's a Saturday night. And I am being wild and crazy in my sweatpants shorts. Anyway, you know what? What happens after 2? I turn to a pumpkin. I turn to pumpkin spice. The spice. Oh, that's another nerdy reference. Oh, you know what? Dune is such a great book and a great movie. Anyway, I am getting distracted. I need to go to bed. So, but I am going to leave you on this note. Vulnerability is thrown around a lot. Like it is just something that people do. Sort of like, be your authentic self. Well, who the fuck is that? When you are deconstructing your trauma and you're deconstructing all of this stuff and you're rebuilding that, you are starting from nothing. So saying you need to be vulnerable to create intimacy and lasting relationships, it isn't that easy. And I acknowledge that. And I think even when you're in a healthy place, vulnerability is still very, very difficult. And that's normal. And it's all okay. And vulnerability takes time. Because depending on your background or your trauma or whatever, you could literally, and I know for me, I did. This was a huge one when I first started learning to open up and be honest and vulnerable with people, is I literally physically had physical reactions. I would have physical reactions to vulnerability and being mentally and emotionally vulnerable. And not good ones. Feeling safe and calm in somebody's presence is fantastic. And it's fantastic in a way that it brings you to center. It brings you like it's like the calm waters of a lake on a beautiful day. But eventually, if you want to get to that next level, you're going to have to open up and you're going to have to deal with the uncomfortable feelings of vulnerability and that rawness and that fear that comes with it. But you know what comes after that? If you just let them love you in your vulnerable moments, an even safer space, an even better relationship. And sometimes the payout is worth the cost. Yeah, really will. Making yourself vulnerable is difficult. I get that. One little thing at a time, though. You don't have to literally give them your life trauma and open up everything. One little thing at a time. And you can always start with something small. And I say small is in relative comparison to everything else, but like you don't have to, hey, you know, this thing happened in my childhood. I don't know. And I remember being really afraid and feeling really bad or whatever, feeling unworthy or unloved or etc. And now the reason for that, just opening up little by little. You don't have to completely break down the floodgates. I don't think that's healthy either. That overloads you think there can be too much of a good thing. Just a little bit. Just a little. One step at a time. Just like you build a house. One brick at a time. One board at a time. You don't have to be you don't have to peel the skin off all at once. So, remember. And with that, folks, remember, vulnerability breeds intimate relationships, and conflict breeds growth and stronger relationships. I still have not figured either one of those out. I'm just letting you know those are the lessons that I'm learning right now, and those are the things that I am working on. So, well, let's go on this journey together. I'd rather not. Okay, I have seen those 3D printed house. Those are pretty fucking cool. I'm not gonna lie. They are pretty cool. All right. It's a Saturday night at 1 a.m. and I am going to go and I'm going to lay and watch Star Trek for the 80th time. So, and tomorrow I will be drinking out of my Spock cup during waking up. So, about conflict leading to growth. I'll go back and clip that for you. But you guys have a good evening and we'll see you for waking up. Talk to you guys later.